Good afternoon, students. So, in the previous class, we discussed regarding the discovery of fundamental particles, atomic number, mass number, calculation of number of electrons, protons, and neutrons present in an atom as well as present in an ion. Right. Now, in today's class, we are going to discuss about model of atom. What are different theories that are proposed to explain the arrangement of electrons, protons, neutrons present in an atom. See, different theories are proposed to explain the arrangement of these fundamental particles. Among those, the first one is proposed by J.J. Thomson. The first atomic model was proposed by J.J. Thomson. Atomic theory of matter was proposed by John Dalton. There is a difference. So the first atomic model was proposed by J.J. Thomson. That means he has explained the arrangement of electrons, protons, and neutrons. J.J. Thomson proposed that the atom is spherical. This is a simple theory. So the atom is spherical. In this spherical atom, the positive charge is distributed uniformly. Throughout the atom, the positive charge get distributed uniformly. Positive charge as well as the mass particles, all neutrons even, are distributed evenly, and the electrons are embedded in this positive charge like this. Electrons are embedded in the positive charge. So this is the model of atom which was proposed by J.J. Thomson. The total positive charge present in an atom is uniformly distributed, and the negatively charged electrons get embedded in this positive charge in order to give the more stable electrostatic attraction. So this is the atomic model which was proposed by J.J. Thomson. And this atomic model was named as watermelon model. Watermelon model of atom. So if you take a watermelon and if you cut, the total red color matter appears in the bulk, and into that black color seeds will be distributed like this. So just like as the seeds distributed in watermelon, like that electrons get distributed in an atom. So this structure is similar to watermelon structure. That's why this is called as a watermelon model of atom. And this is also called as a plum pudding model. This is also called as a raisin pudding model. Plum pudding model or a raisin pudding model. So in all these three, either watermelon or plum or raisin, in all these, the seeds get distributed uniformly inside the fruit. That's why this model is named as a watermelon model, plum pudding model, or raisin pudding model. So this is a theory which was proposed by J.J. Thomson, which is known as a watermelon model or plum pudding model or raisin pudding model. But this theory is not accepted widely because according to this theory, both positive charge and this negative charge are placed in one region. As for electrostatic, which is not possible. If positive particles and negative particles kept together, electrical neutralization takes place. If electrical neutralization takes place, then atoms should get collapsed. But atoms are stable. So this theory is not accepted one. This theory is against to electrostatic theory. Okay. Afterwards, to explain the structure of atom, that is model of atom, one more theory was proposed, one more model was proposed, which is nothing but Rutherford. Rutherford planetary model of atom. Or is also called as Rutherford nuclear model of atom. Rutherford planetary model of atom or Rutherford nuclear model of atom. This is another theory which was proposed, means another model which was proposed to explain the internal structure of atom. And then, so what is arrangement of the particles according to this theory? Now let us see. So based on this theory, this atomic model, this planetary model of atom or nuclear model of atom was proposed based on alpha ray scattering experiment. So depending on alpha ray scattering experiment, this nuclear model of atom was proposed. So what is this alpha ray scattering experiment? What are alpha rays? So before that, I'll tell you regarding briefly radioactivity, as you have studied already in your earlier classes. Natural radioactivity. What is meant by radioactivity? The spontaneous emission of alpha, beta, and gamma rays is known as radioactivity. Out of these three, alpha, beta, and gamma, all three will not be released by a single substance at a time. Maximum two can be released. Alpha and beta, or alpha and gamma, or beta and gamma, like that. Now, so we have taken a radioactive material first. Let us see the experiment description. So, in a lead chamber, a radioactive material is placed. A radioactive metal is placed in a lead chamber. This is made from lead, Pb. Because this radioactive rays, means alpha, beta, gamma rays, can penetrate through thin foils. So that's why it is placed in a lead chamber. From this radioactive material, a stream of alpha particles will be emitted. A stream of alpha particles will be emitted from this radioactive material. Means a beam of alpha rays will come. Then what is alpha rays? See, alpha particle is nothing but the nucleus of helium atom. The nucleus of helium atom is nothing but known as alpha particle. Now, this beam of light is made to pass through a thin slit. This is a narrow slit. Then, when this beam of alpha rays is passed through this slit, then we can get a thin ray of alpha particles. Okay, and this thin ray of alpha particle is allowed to fall on a gold foil. This is gold foil. It's a gold foil of very low thickness, less than 0.1 mm thickness. Just like as what you are using silver wrappers on sweets, like that's very thick. So a very thin gold foil is used here. The rays, alpha rays. So what the alpha rays coming here? These alpha rays are allowed to pass through a thin gold foil, and this gold foil is surrounded by a circular shaped fluorescent material like zinc sulfide screen. This is surrounded by zinc sulfide screen. This is ZNS. This is the description of this experiment, alpha ray scattering experiment. See once again. A radioactive material is placed in a lead chamber. This is the lead chamber. And from this radioactive material, a beam of alpha rays will come. And this alpha rays is allowed to pass through a thin slit. Then we can get a narrow beam of alpha rays, which is made to fall on a thin gold foil. And this gold foil is surrounded by a circular shaped zinc sulfide photographic film. This is experimental exhibition. Then observations. So what the observations of this experiment is? The first observation is, like this has passed alpha rays. Around 20,000 alpha rays has passed on this gold foil. What he observed is, most of the alpha rays are undeflected. Most of the alpha rays are undeflected. Means what the alpha rays are here, these alpha rays travel in straight lines, and here when it strikes here, we can observe a bright spot. So like that, most of the alpha rays travel in straight lines without any deflection. So most of the alpha rays are undeflected. This is first observation. And the second observation is, few alpha particles are deflected with low or high angles. This is the second observation. So here, some alpha rays are deflected like this, or some alpha rays will deflect like this with less angles. With less angle, some alpha rays are deflected. This is second observation. And what the third observation is, so only one particle out of 20,000 particles, one particle, there is one alpha particle out of 20,000 particles is reflected back in the same path. Means only one alpha particle is bounced back. So this is the path. Like in this way, the alpha particle is traveled. In which way the alpha particle is passed here? In the same path it is bounced back. Only one particle out of 20,000 particles bounced back. So these are the major three observations made by Rutherford here from this experiment. So first one is, most of the alpha rays travel in straight lines without any deflection. That is, most of the alpha particles are undeflected. Second one, a few number of alpha particles are deflected with small angles or with large angles. Here it can deflect here like this. Deflection means angle of deflection is more here. Few particles are deflected with small angles and few particles are deflected with large angles. This is second observation. And third one alpha particle out of 20,000 alpha particles is bounced back, means reflected back in the same path. So these are the three observations. Next, from these three observations, he made three conclusions. What the conclusions he did is, let us see what the first one is. Most of the alpha rays are undeflected. Okay, so why most of the alpha rays are undeflected? Let us take here, let us assume this is the atom. This is the atom, this is one gold atom. So here alpha rays are traveling like this. See, most of the rays are traveling in straight lines without any deflection here. In the same path, they travel here. What does it means? It means that in the path of alpha rays, there is no material particles. No material particles are present in the path of alpha rays. That means most of the atom is empty. Since atom is empty, the alpha rays are traveling in straight lines without any deflection. This is the first conclusion. Most of the alpha rays are undeflected. That is, most of the atom is empty. Right. And come to the second observation here. Few alpha particles are deflected. Few alpha particles are deflected with low or high angles. When does an alpha particle will be deflected? What is alpha particle? Alpha particle is nothing but 2He4, nothing but He plus 2. Doubly ionized helium atom, that is alpha particle. What is the charge of the alpha particle? Plus, positive charge. So when does alpha particle will be deflected? Whenever alpha particle approaches a positively charged particle. Since similar charged particles repel each other, the alpha particle will be deflected. So let us assume here, so this is alpha particle here, now deflected like this. Or this is alpha particle, this is deflected like this. Why this alpha particle is deflected? Means here there must be some particles which is having positive charge. So whenever alpha particle approaches nearer a positively charged particle, since similar charged particles repel each other, the alpha particle will be deflected. If it is opposite charge, they will attract. Means it can move like this. But here, the alpha particle is deflected. Means by the repulsion of the particles which are present here, the alpha particle is deflected. So from this second observation, what we will come to know is, a few alpha particles are deflected. Why few alpha particles are deflected is, so whenever these alpha particles approaches nearer a positively charged particle, they can be deflected. So from this what we will come to know is, the positively charged particles are present at the center of the atom. Next, only one particle out of the 20,000 particle reflected back in the same path, means only one particle is bounced back. When does alpha particle bounce back? So whenever this alpha particle travels exactly in the path of center, where the positive charged particles are present, when it approaches exactly towards the center of the nucleus, center of the atom, then it will be bounced back in the same path. Only one particle is bounced back. This indicates that the mass particles and all positively charged particles are present in the small central part of the atom. And this small central part of the atom is known as nucleus. So here, since only one particle out of 20,000 particles are bounced back, it indicates that all mass particles and positively charged particles are present in the small central part of the atom, which is known as nucleus. These are the observations. These are the conclusions what he made. And from this observation, based on this, Rutherford has calculated the size of the atom as well as the size of the nucleus. Size of atom. Size of atom is in the range of 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. Whereas size of nucleus is in the range of 10 to the power of minus 15 meters. Okay, so from these three observations, he made three conclusions. Let us see what these three conclusions are. Since most of the alpha particles are undeflected, which indicates that most of the atom is hollow or empty. This is first conclusion. A few number of alpha particles are deflected, means that the positively charged particles, that is protons, the protons are present in a small region in atom. That is, the protons are present in the small central region of the atom. Next, only one particle out of 20,000 particles are reflected back in the same path. This indicates that all mass particles and positively charged particles are present at the small central part of the atom, and that small central part of the atom is known as nucleus. And based on this experiment analysis, he has calculated the size of the nucleus as well as size of the atom. The size of the atom is in the range of 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. The size of the nucleus is in the range of 10 to the power of minus 15 meters. Right. Means the size of the nucleus is around 10 to the power of 5 times smaller than the size of the atom. Means the nucleus occupies a very small region in an atom. So these are the conclusions, 3 conclusions made from 3 observations. Later, from these 3 observations and the conclusions of this experiment, Rutherford proposed a model of atom. Let us see what that model of atom is. Yeah, see once again, briefly I'll tell. A radioactive material is placed in a lead chamber from which alpha rays are emitted, and these alpha rays are allowed to pass through a thin slit and then made to fall on a thin gold foil, and this gold foil is surrounded by a zinc sulfide screen. This is experiment description. Then what are the observations? Most of the alpha rays are undeflected, that is travel in straight lines without any deflection. A few number of alpha particles are deflected with small angles or with large angles. Only one particle is reflected back in the same path. These are the 3 observations. So from 3 observations, he made some conclusions. What are the conclusions? Since most of the alpha rays are undeflected, indicates most of the atom is empty. This is first one. Second one, few number of alpha particles are deflected with small or higher angles, means that all positively charged particles in an atom are occupying a small central part of the atom. Since only one particle is bounced back, it indicates that all mass particles and positively charged particles are present in the small central part of the atom called as nucleus, and size of the nucleus is very much less as compared to size of the atom. Size of atom in the range of 10 power minus 10 meters, size of nucleus in the range of 10 to the power of minus 15 meters. These are the conclusions. Now, from these 3 observations and conclusions, Rutherford proposed an atomic model. He has proposed an atomic model. Then, what are the postulates of this atomic model? First one, most of the atom is hollow or empty. Most of the atom is hollow or empty. Second one, all mass particles, that is protons plus neutrons, are present in small central part are present in small central part of atom known as nucleus. All mass particles, that is including protons and neutrons, are present in a small central part of the atom, and that small central part of the atom is called as nucleus. That's why the sum of protons and neutrons are combinedly called as nucleons. Nucleons means nothing but the particles which are present in the nucleus of atom. The particles present in the nucleus of atom are called nucleons. So protons and neutrons are combinedly called as nucleons. This is the second postulate of this Rutherford atomic model. Third one, electrons. Electrons are revolving around the nucleus. Electrons are revolving around the nucleus in circular paths. Electrons are revolving around the nucleus in a circular paths. This is the third postulate. And the fourth postulate is electrons and nucleus are held together by electrostatic force of attraction. So these are the four important postulates of this Rutherford atomic model. See once again, most of the atom is hollow or empty is the first one. Second one, all mass particles, that is including protons and neutrons, are present in a small central part of the atom known as nucleus. Third one is electrons are revolving around the nucleus in circular paths, and electrons and nucleus are held together by electrostatic force of attraction. These are the major postulates of Rutherford atomic model. And this atomic model of Rutherford, also known as a planetary model of atom. Why it is called as a planetary model of atom? He proposed that electrons are revolving around the nucleus just like as the planets are revolving around the sun. Just like planets revolving around the sun, electrons also revolving around the nucleus of atom. Means the Rutherford atomic model is just similar to planetary model. That's why this is called as a planetary model of atom. Okay, these are the postulates of this theory. But this theory has some drawbacks. Okay, Rutherford proposed a nucleus and electrons are revolving around the nucleus. And now, what are the drawbacks of this theory? The first one is, so this theory cannot explain stability of atom. Stability of atom was not explained by this theory. Rutherford is unable to explain the stability of atom. And so this cannot explain electronic structure. This theory cannot explain electronic structure. What is meant by electronic structure? Electronic structure is nothing but arrangement of electrons around the nucleus. He proposed that electrons are revolving around the nucleus in circular path. in circular path, how they are revolving, what is the position of different electrons, whether all electrons revolve together or separately. That arrangement of electrons around the nucleus was not explained. Okay, next. So this theory cannot explain emission spectrum of hydrogen. This theory cannot explain emission spectrum of hydrogen. What is meant by emission spectrum of hydrogen? Further we'll discuss. Just I'll tell you briefly here now. And according to this theory, when electrons are revolving around the nucleus, see, according to classical physics, this is an atom, this is the nucleus of atom. Suppose electron is revolving in a circular path. So when electron is revolving in a circular path, as per classical mechanics, when a particle is revolving, it loses energy continuously. So when this electron is revolving around the nucleus in circular path like this, it loses energy continuously. As the electron loses energy continuously, then the force of attraction between a nucleus and the electrons increases. What is the formula? F is equal to K1 into Q1 Q2 by R square. Nothing but a Coulomb's inverse square law. Coulomb's law of force of attraction. If two oppositely charged particles are there, the force of attraction is directly proportional to product of charges and inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. As per this Coulomb's law, when this electron is revolving around the nucleus, and if it loses energy continuously, the distance between the nucleus and electrons decrease. Slowly it comes towards the nucleus, and afterwards ultimately it falls into the nucleus. And this total process takes place within a fraction of 10 power minus 8 seconds only. So if electron is revolving around the nucleus in circular path with losing energy, then ultimately the electron will fall into the nucleus within a fraction of 10 power minus 8 seconds. If electrons falls in the nucleus within a fraction of 10 power minus 8 seconds, atoms will get collapse. But atoms are stable. That was not explained by Rutherford. Okay, and one more. So if electron is losing energy continuously, what the spectrum obtained from that emission energy, that must be continuous. Continuous spectrum is an example, a rainbow WIBGR. It contains 7 different colors continuously. There is a continuous spectrum. Okay. So if electron loses energy continuously, we should get a spectrum continuously. But emission spectrum of hydrogen is discontinuous, not continuous. Why emission spectrum of hydrogen is discontinuous? That was not explained by this theory. So these are some drawbacks of this Rutherford atomic model. See once again. This Rutherford theory cannot explain the stability of atom. Why atoms are stable? How atoms are stable? That was not explained by this theory. This theory cannot explain electronic structure of atom. Means the arrangement of electrons around the nucleus. Around the nucleus, how the electrons are arranged, how they are revolving, either together or separately, in what way, what about their energies, electronic structure and energies of electrons. Whatever different electrons are having different energies. That electronic structure as well as electronic energy also cannot be explained by Rutherford. And this theory cannot explain emission spectrum of hydrogen. See, as per classical physics, when a particle is revolving, if it loses energy continuously, if energy is emitted continuously, the obtained spectrum must be continuous. But emission spectrum of hydrogen is discontinuous. It contains only lines, not continuous. The spectrum of hydrogen was not explained by this theory. And If electron loses energy continuously due to electrostatic force of attraction, the electron will come close towards the nucleus. If electron come close towards the nucleus, after a certain time, electron will fall into the nucleus. If electron falls into the nucleus, atoms should get collapsed. But atoms are not collapsing, atoms are stable. This is also not explained by this theory. So these are the drawbacks of this theory. So to overcome these drawbacks, the scientist has studied about the nature of radiation. What is radiation? What is electromagnetic radiation? What does electromagnetic radiation consist of? What is the nature of electromagnetic radiation? Again, here, because of this, it cannot explain spectrum of hydrogen. Energy is emitted in the form of radiations, electromagnetic rays. What is the nature of that electromagnetic radiation? And the properties of that electromagnetic radiation cannot be explained. So later scientists have started studying about the nature of electromagnetic radiation, black body radiations, spectrums. So after studying the nature of all these electromagnetic radiations and the types of spectrums, then one more atomic model was proposed by Niels Bohr. Yeah, before going to discuss about the Niels Bohr atomic model, first we'll discuss regarding electromagnetic radiation. What is the nature of electromagnetic radiation? What are spectrums? What are different types of spectrums? All those we'll discuss. Clear? So this is an important question for PUC. They're asking for 5 marks. Explain Rutherford atomic model. What are the drawbacks? Just you should write these postulates and these drawbacks. So this is about a Rutherford planetary model of atom or Rutherford nuclear model of atom. Means the nucleus of atom was first proposed by Rutherford. That's why this is called as a nuclear model of atom. And he proposed electrons are revolving around the nucleus in circular paths, just like as planets revolving around the sun. That's why this is also called as planetary model of atom. Okay, right. So this is regarding 2 theories. And regarding Bohr's theory, we'll discuss after discussing the nature of electromagnetic radiation and all those. And before that, we'll discuss some terms here. Isoelectronic ions. Called as even isoelectronic species. What is meant by the term iso? The term iso means same. Electronic, electrons. So the 2 or more ions having same number of electrons are called as isoelectronic ions. Ions having same number of electrons. So 2 or more ions having same number of electrons are called as isoelectronic ions. Let us take an example here. N minus 3, nothing but this is nitride ion. O minus 2, oxide ion. F minus, fluoride ion. Na plus, sodium ion. Mg plus 2, magnesium ion. Al plus 3, aluminum ion. So these are different atoms, different ions, but have same number of electrons. What is atomic number of nitrogen? 7. And how many electrons are gained by nitrogen? 3. 7 plus 3, 10 electrons. Oxygen atomic number 8. It gains 2 more electrons. 8 plus 2, 10. Here 10 electrons. So number of electrons. F atomic number 9. It gains 1 electron. So 10. Sodium atomic number 11. Na plus means it loses 1 electron. Then it also contains 10 electrons. Magnesium. So just first already atomic numbers. Atomic number 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. These are the atomic numbers. Then number of electrons. All these contains 10 electrons only. Aluminum atomic number 13. Positive charge is there, means loses electrons. 3 electrons lost. 13 minus 3, 10. So all these are examples of isoelectronic species. Now one more example. P minus 3 phosphide ion, S minus 2 sulfide ion, Cl minus chloride, K plus potassium ion, Ca plus 2 calcium ion. So here if you take atomic numbers of these, this is a 15, 16, 17, 19, 20. These are the atomic numbers. Then what is the number of electrons? What are the number of electrons in this is 15 plus 3, 18, 16 plus 2, 18, 17 plus 1, 18, 19 minus 1 loses 1 electron, so 18, 20 minus 2. So all these are isoelectronic ions. And all these are isoelectric ions. Like this, 2 or more ions having a same number of electrons are called as isoelectronic ions. Okay, then whether all these ions are having same size or not, whatever the sizes of these ions, isoelectronic ions are having a same number of electrons but different sizes. Among isoelectronic ions, as the atomic number increases, size decreases. Why? Because all these contains 10 electrons, but number of protons is nothing but equal to atomic number. Number of neutrons increases, number of protons in the nucleus increases. As the number of protons in the nucleus increases, the nucleus attraction on these electrons increases. See here, this is atom, this is nucleus. Number of electrons in this orbit remains same. If the number of protons present in the nucleus increases, the nucleus attraction on these outermost electrons increases. As the nucleus attraction on the outermost electrons increases, electrons come close to the nucleus. As electrons come close to the nucleus, size of the ion decreases. Simply, among isoelectronic ions, as the atomic number increases, or as the charge present on the ion increases, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, charge increases. As the atomic number increases or as the charge increases, ionic size decreases. Then what is order of size now? The order of size of these ions is n minus 3 greater than O minus 2, F minus, and so on. Similarly here also, P minus 3 greater than, S minus 2 greater than, Cl minus greater than, K plus greater than, Ca plus 2. So isoelectronic ions have same number of electrons. They have different number of protons as well as different number of neutrons. Among isoelectronic ions, as the atomic number increases or as the charge present on the ion increases, size of the ion decreases. So this is regarding isoelectronic ions. For example, take a hydrogen, He plus, Li plus 2, Be plus 3. All these are called as isoelectronic species, simply called as hydrogen-like species. Hydrogen contains how many electrons? 1 electron. He plus contains 1 electron. Li plus 2 contains 1 electron. Be plus 2 contains 1 electron only. All these contains one electron each. Simply these are isoelectronic species known as hydrogen-like species. Why these are called as hydrogen-like species is all these contains one electron only, just like as hydrogen. That's why hydrogen, He plus, Li plus 2, Be plus 3, these are known as hydrogen-like species, nothing but isoelectronic species. Okay, so this is regarding isoelectronic species. So remaining tomorrow will continue.